Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Waller's Wallet, and in this video, we're gonna take a look at how you can use your points and miles to fly to Hawaii. But first, if you're new to the channel, this channel is all about credit card rewards, and showing you how to use your points and miles to travel for less. So if that's something that interests you, consider that subscribe button and turn the bell notifications on as well. Now, for many people, Hawaii is a bucket list destination, and really, I can't blame anyone for wanting to go to Hawaii. It is absolutely beautiful there. And while some people think it's difficult to get there, it's actually easier than you think to use your points and miles to visit Hawaii. Starting off with Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines has a couple of great options to get you to Hawaii. Now, Singapore Airlines is part of Star Alliance, which happens to be in the same alliance as United. And when you book your flights to Hawaii using Singapore KrisFlyer Miles, you're actually going to be flying on United Metal. And the reason why Singapore Airlines is a great option to fly to Hawaii is the fact they only charge 17,500 miles each way per person, and they don't charge any fuel surcharges as well. So that means you can fly round trip to Hawaii for just 35,000 points and $11.20. And to put that into perspective, United would charge you 22,500 miles each way for the same exact flight. Now, in order to find award space, you actually will not be able to find this on Singapore Airlines website. You will need to search over on United's website, and you are looking for saver availability in order for it to be bookable by Singapore KrisFlyer Miles. And you can also check for award space on Aeroplan as well. And after United goes dynamic in November, this might actually be a better place to look for award space because we don't know what United is going to be charging for those flights. And if it is bookable by Aeroplan, then it should be bookable by Singapore Airlines as well. And another great option for Singapore KrisFlyer Miles to Hawaii is using them to fly on Alaska Airlines. Now, this is ideally going to be best for non-stop flight options on Alaska Metal, which is really just a long-winded way to say you really just need to fly from the West Coast. Because Hawaii is in Zone 5, and on paper, the best option to fly from is Zone 2. But unfortunately, there aren't any non-stop flights from Zone 2 to Hawaii. So the best realistic option is going to be from Zone 1. And Alaska flies non-stop to Hawaii from Zone 1, which is going to cost you just 12,000 Singapore KrisFlyer miles one way, which would only be 24,000 miles round trip to Hawaii. And I also called to verify with Singapore Airlines about the zone pricing. Now, if there is a layover, there's going to be an additional cost in miles. So really, Zone 1 is where you need to be in order to take advantage of this deal. Now, in order to find availability to book this flight, you can either call Singapore Airlines or you can look over on American Airlines website. If Alaska space is showing on American Airlines, then it should be bookable by Singapore Airlines as well. And you are going to need to call Singapore Airlines to book this option. And using KrisFlyer Miles is an awesome way to fly to Hawaii, especially when you realize Singapore Airlines is part of pretty much every transferable currency out there. So earning miles to fly this route is not hard at all. Next, we're going to take a look at Etihad Miles. Because with Etihad Miles, you can currently book flights on American Airlines. Now, there are rumors that they might cut this partnership, but for the time being, you can still book on American Airlines flights using Etihad Miles, which can be a solid option for your points. Because with Etihad Miles, you can fly on American Airlines to Hawaii for 17,500 miles to 22,500 miles one way, depending on the time of year you're looking to go. Now, I think this is really only good for the 17,500 point option, since there are other options for 17,500 points on the market. Now, 22,500 points isn't a terrible option, but there are just plenty of options to fly to Hawaii for less than 22,500 miles one way. And in order to find award space, you're going to need to search American Airlines website, and you need to find saver availability. And when you find saver availability, you're going to need to call Etihad to book your flight. Or if you're just having a hard time finding saver space due to American Airlines' new crappy website setup, you can just call Etihad as well. And Etihad points are a transfer partner of American Express, City Points, and even Capital One Miles. So earning Etihad miles is pretty easy to do as well. Now let's take a look at Flying Blue. Now Flying Blue used to be a better value to Hawaii, but once they went dynamic, it changed a little bit in the redemptions. And since Flying Blue no longer has an award chart, you're going to need to search dates for your pricing. But you can find flights as low as 17,500 miles one way to fly on Delta Metal. Now you can search for reward flights directly on Flying Blue's website, but I found Flying Blue can be a little bit irritating at times when looking for award space. And that's because their calendar function doesn't always work. And sometimes I've actually had better luck looking for flights on their mobile app. But if you can stay patient, you can find yourself a ticket to Hawaii for just 17,500 miles each way. Plus, Flying Blue is a transfer partner of Ultimate Rewards, Membership Rewards, City Thank You Points, and even Capital One Venture Miles. So it is extremely easy to earn Flying Blue miles. Plus, we've also seen transfer bonuses from Citi, American Express, and even Capital One to Flying Blue. So when this happens, this would cost you even fewer miles to fly to Hawaii. Now let's take a look at Korean Airlines. This actually used to be a better option when Korean Airlines was a Chase transfer partner. But if you happen to have some leftover Korean Airline miles or a bunch of Marriott points, this could actually be an option for you. Now, when you use your Korean Airline miles to fly to Hawaii, you're actually going to be flying on Delta Metal. And when you use your Korean Airline miles, you must book a round-trip ticket. Others on this list will allow you to book a one-way ticket, but not Korean Airlines. But if you have Korean Airline miles, you can fly round-trip to Hawaii for only 25,000 miles. That's only 12,500 miles each way, and this includes flights from the East Coast. And depending on where you live, Korean Airline miles could actually be the best mileage option to get you to Hawaii. And you can actually search right over on Korean Airlines website to look for your award flight. You do need to search under SkyTeam Award to search for partner airlines. But earning Korean Airline miles is more difficult because they're only a transfer partner of Marriott. And when you transfer 60,000 Marriott points to Korean Airlines, you're actually going to earn 25,000 Korean Airline miles. And while this might be the lowest cost option, it also might not be the most realistic option for most people. Now let's take a look at Alaska miles. And Alaska miles are probably the most valuable point currency in the game right now. So you may not want to use your points for a trip to Hawaii, but if a trip to Hawaii is on your bucket list, then you might want to. Flights to Hawaii using your Alaska miles can be as low as 15,000 miles one way, which would only be 30,000 miles round trip. And you would need to fly on Alaska Metal for this pricing. If you were to fly on American Airlines, they would cost you 22,500 miles each way, which I don't think is really a great option for your Alaska Airline miles. This should be a consideration if you live near an airport that Alaska Airlines flies from, especially if you live on the East Coast. Now to book this flight, you actually want to book it right on Alaska Airlines website. And you could even book American Airlines flights as well on Alaska's website if you really wanted to. And Alaska miles aren't part of any big flexible currency option. You could transfer Marriott points to Alaska if you wanted to, or open one of their co-branded credit cards. And just like Korean Airlines, 60,000 Marriott points would get you 25,000 Alaska miles. Next, let's take a look at Virgin Atlantic. While we typically talk about Virgin Atlantic flights flying Delta to Europe or even ANA to Asia, another option for Virgin Atlantic miles is to redeem them on Delta Metal to Hawaii. And this option will cost you as low as 40,000 miles round trip from the United States, which might not be the best option at first glance, but Virgin Atlantic miles are extremely easy to earn since they're partners of Ultimate Rewards, Membership Rewards, and Thank You Points. Now the people best suited for this option are people who can fly non-stop from Delta hubs. Because if you have a connection, the price will actually go up since Virgin Atlantic costs increase if you have connections. And you can search Virgin Atlantic's website for award space, or you can call Virgin Atlantic to look for space as well. And on top of that, we've seen transfer bonuses up to 30% from American Express and Citi, which would really make this just under 31,000 points round trip to fly to Hawaii. Next, we're going to take a look at British Airways. Now, if you live on the West Coast, then British Airways should be a program you're definitely looking at. British Airways charges 13,000 Avios for a one-way flight for flights between 2,001 miles and 3,000 miles, making it only 26,000 Avios to fly round trip from the West Coast to Hawaii, which is actually a pretty solid option. And you are going to be flying on American airline metal when you use your Avios to fly to Hawaii. Now, in order to search for reward space, you're going to want to search on British Airways' website, and you're actually going to be able to book on their website as well. And if by chance you see saver space on American Airlines but don't see it on British Airways' website, you'll need to call in and book that flight over the phone. And really, this option is only going to be ideal for people who can fly nonstop from the West Coast. Because if you have a connection, it's going to increase your costs and it's no longer a great option to Hawaii. And Avios are super easy to earn since they're partners with American Express and Chase. And when you consider the fact that Chase just offered a 30% transfer bonus to British Airways, that means you could fly for 20,000 Avios round trip to Hawaii. We also see American Express offer bonuses to Avios as well. Now, there are other programs you can use your points and miles to fly to Hawaii, but these programs here offer you some of the best value for your points. And you can see Alliance partners are going to be a better redemption for your Hawaii flights than using United, American Airlines, or even Delta miles. And when deciding which points to use, I would look at programs like Singapore KrisFlyer or even Flying Blue, because earning their points are just so much easier when you compare it to others on this list. And I would say potentially look at using your Alaska miles to fly to Hawaii, but if you're looking to use your Alaska miles for some killer value, flying to Hawaii might not be the best way to use them because there are better ways to get even more value from your Alaska miles. And while you might be able to fly for only 25,000 miles round trip using Korean airline miles, I would say redeeming 60,000 Marriott points to make that happen isn't necessarily a good deal. It could be, but you just want to make sure to run the numbers to make sure the value you're receiving is appropriate. Also, West Coast flyers have more options for lower cost flights to Hawaii, but I would also say it's pretty hard to complain at only 35,000 miles round trip from the East Coast as well. So tell me, have you used any of these programs to fly to Hawaii? If you have, let me know in the comments below. Hey, if you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you know somebody who might benefit from this video, feel free to share it with them. And if you want to help support the channel, a simple way is to use the links on the website or in the description below. And if you like learning about credit cards, points, miles, cashback, or just flat out traveling for less, consider the subscribe button down below. And until next time, safe travels and take care.